January 12th, 2010, 4:53 p.m. Dan Woolley walks into the lobby of the Hotel Montana in Port-au-Prince, camera in hand. He and his colleague David Hames have just finished an interview that will change hearts. They're excited. Dan doesn't know it yet, but that magnificent hotel will become his tomb for the next 65 hours. He doesn't know that the lobby floor will rise up and slam him down. He doesn't know that concrete will rain from the ceiling, burying him in total darkness with a broken foot, his leg ripped open, and blood pouring from his head.
Dan Woolley was alive, but in trouble, buried underneath the Hotel Montana.
He doesn't know that he'll spend 3 days trapped in rubble so tight he can barely move, writing goodbye notes to his wife and 2 sons because rescue seems impossible. And he definitely doesn't know that what's about to happen will kill more than hundreds of thousands of people. This disaster left at least 1 million homeless and reduced an entire capital city to rubble in less than a minute. This is the 2010 Haiti earthquake. The disaster that proved the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere was built on borrowed time. But the warning signs had been there for decades. Haiti sits on the Enriquillo Plantain Garden Fault, a massive tectonic boundary where the Caribbean and North American plates grind against each other. For 250 years, pressure had been building. The fault hadn't produced a major earthquake since 1770, when French colonial records described how the whole city collapsed. Geologists knew another massive quake was inevitable. They just didn't know when. January 2010. Port-au-Prince is a city of 3 million people built for 200,000. Concrete buildings rise everywhere, packed tight on hillsides, crammed into valleys. But there's a problem. Haiti has no building codes, no earthquake standards, no reinforcement requirements. Pierre Fouche, Haiti's only earthquake engineer, knew what was coming. When he studied engineering in Haiti, his professors told him that at least one building would survive an earthquake: the presidential palace. They believed the National Palace, that magnificent white-domed structure designed by Haitian architect Georges Bossan and completed in 1920, represented the pinnacle of Haitian construction. It was supposed to be earthquake-resistant, it was supposed to be safe, but they were wrong. President René Préval works in the National Palace that afternoon. The 66-year-old agronomist is in his second term as president, leading the hemisphere's poorest nation through food riots, gang violence, and crushing poverty. The palace around him, with its soaring domes and ionic columns, stands as a symbol of Haitian sovereignty. It has survived coups, dictators, hurricanes. Surely it can survive anything. At 4:53 p.m., the Enriquillo Plantain Garden Fault ruptures. The earthquake strikes 15 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince at a depth of 8 miles, magnitude 7.0. The shock wave races toward the capital at thousands of miles per hour. Buildings don't sway, they don't bend, they explode. Back at the Hotel Montana, Dan Woolley hears what sounds like thunder. Then, the floor rises beneath him, the ceiling cracks. Concrete slabs the size of cars crash down. He tries to run, but the building is collapsing faster than he can move. Everything goes black. The ground shakes for 35 seconds, but those 35 seconds rewrite history. In the National Palace, the floor buckles. The magnificent domed roof collapses inward. The second floor pancakes onto the first. Columns shatter, walls explode into dust. The entire top level of the palace, 3 stories of reinforced concrete, is reduced to rubble in seconds. The building that was supposed to survive anything has been destroyed. And that's just the beginning. Across Port-au-Prince, the devastation unfolds with terrifying speed. The Port-au-Prince Cathedral, where Haitians have worshipped for generations, collapses completely. The Palace of Justice crumbles. The National Assembly building pancakes. The headquarters of the United Nations Stabilization Mission at the Christopher Hotel collapses, killing 102 UN personnel, including Mission Chief Hedi Anabi and his deputy Luis Carlos da Costa. It's the single greatest loss of life in UN history. Schools collapse with children inside. Hospitals crumble just as injured victims arrive seeking help. The main jail is destroyed, and 4,000 inmates pour into the streets. More than 1,300 schools are wiped out. 50 healthcare facilities are reduced to rubble. The education system, as Minister Joël Jean-Pierre later states, has totally collapsed. In Pétionville, one of Port-au-Prince's wealthier neighborhoods, 23-year-old Mason Orinel Medalus and his crew have just finished building a home. The earth trembles. The structure they spent weeks constructing collapses around them. Medalus is buried in the wreckage. He can't move, can't see, can't breathe without inhaling dust. Around him, he hears screaming. Then silence. A bulldozer arrives the next morning to clear rubble. Workers dig him out. He's alive. But when Medalus finally reaches his own home across the city, he finds only ruins. His family wasn't as fortunate. At the Hotel Montana, approximately 300 guests were inside when the earthquake struck. The 4-star luxury hotel, perched on a hillside with stunning views of the bay, was filled with aid workers, diplomats, tourists, and business people. 100 people managed to escape in those first chaotic seconds. 200 remained trapped inside. Dan Woolley regains consciousness in absolute darkness. His leg is soaking wet. He touches it. Blood. He sees concrete above him, steel rebar bent at impossible angles. His colleague David Hames is somewhere in this wreckage, but Woolley can't find him. He's completely alone. Woolley has no medical training, but he has an iPhone with a first aid app. In the darkness, he reads about treating head wounds and open fractures. He uses his shirt to make a tourniquet. Then he writes goodbye notes to his wife, Christy, and his 2 sons, Josh and Nathan. He doesn't expect to survive, but the Hotel Montana is far from alone in its agony. Jean-Karel Noursaidi, a World Food Program monitoring expert, is on his way to a university class when the earthquake hits. He hears what sounds like gunshots. Then, buildings start collapsing around him. A massive cloud of dust and smoke rises and surrounds him. He rushes to the university building, only to find his fellow students trapped in the rubble. Jean-Karel stands there, staring at the destruction, and realizes the only reason he's alive is because he arrived late to class. The dust cloud doesn't dissipate. For 15 minutes, the entire city is engulfed in gray powder. Every concrete building in Port-au-Prince that couldn't withstand the shaking has pancaked, creating billions of pounds of pulverized concrete suspended in the air. When the dust finally settles, the scope of the catastrophe becomes clear. Port-au-Prince looks like it's been bombed. Entire city blocks have vanished. Buildings that stood 5 stories tall are now 3 feet of compressed rubble. Bodies lie everywhere. The injured wander the streets, bleeding, disoriented, searching for family members who may already be dead. And the aftershocks keep coming. Violent tremors every 15 minutes rearrange the rubble, collapsing structures that were barely standing, crushing people who were trying to escape. The communication grid has almost completely collapsed. Power lines are down across the city. Cell towers have been destroyed. Radio Lumiere, which broadcasts to 90% of Haiti, is knocked off the air. President Prévost can't reach his ministers. His government has been paralyzed because the National Palace collapsed. The Palace of Justice collapsed. The Parliament building collapsed. All the communication was down. There is no functioning government, and then the deaths begin. 4-year-old Peterson is buried alive when his 3-story house collapses in southwestern Haiti. His younger brother is beside him in the wreckage. For 3 days, the little boys lie in darkness, surrounded by concrete and twisted steel. Rescue workers finally pull them out. Peterson's arm is mangled beyond repair. Doctors amputate it at the elbow. He survives, but he'll never have 2 arms again. Falone Maxey and her friend Micah Joseph are trapped together in the rubble of their college for 6 days. They hold hands in the darkness. They drink their own urine to stay alive. They feel rats crawling across their feet. They whisper to each other, making promises that if they survive, They'll never take life for granted again. Rescue teams find them on day 6, barely alive but breathing. Dan Woolley spends 65 hours trapped in the Hotel Montana rubble. No one knows where he is. He made a last-minute hotel change, and even his wife Christy doesn't know he's at the Montana. In the darkness, he prays. He sleeps in 20-minute intervals, constantly waking himself up to make sure he doesn't slip into unconsciousness and never wake up. His water runs out. On day 3, he hears voices, American voices, rescue workers from Fairfax County, Virginia. They're calling into the rubble, listening for responses. Woolley screams with everything he has left. They hear him. Hours later, Sam Gray, a firefighter from Fairfax County, burrows into the collapsed structure. He finds Woolley's hand poking out from the concrete. They pull him out alive. But not everyone is so fortunate. At the Hotel Montana, rescue teams work for 9 straight days. French civil security crews bring heavy digging equipment and listening devices. Search dogs prowl the rubble. Chilean UN peacekeepers excavate sections of the collapsed hotel. Teams from Colombia, Brazil, and the United States coordinate their efforts. The rescues are highly technical, medically extreme. Some survivors have been in painful crouches for 4 days. Others are pinned by concrete slabs that weigh thousands of pounds. Rescuers prop up sections of wreckage to create tunnels, knowing that one aftershock could bring everything down on top of them. 7 people are pulled out alive from the Hotel Montana. But as the days pass, hope fades. The death list grows, posted on a tree in the hotel's circular drive because the reception desk is buried under rubble. The magnificent mahogany tree still stands, shading a scene of unimaginable horror. Nadine Cardoza-Riedel, co-owner of the Hotel Montana, is among those trapped. Her husband Reinhard stands vigil outside, refusing to leave. For days, he believes she's alive. Rescue workers think they hear her voice, but as time passes, the truth becomes inescapable. Nadine is gone. Reinhard finally leaves on day 5, broken. 2 days later, against all odds, Nadine is pulled from the rubble alive, dehydrated, barely conscious, but breathing. The miracle rescue electrifies the rescue teams. If she survived 7 days, maybe others are still alive. But the miracles are rare. Most of the Hotel Montana's 200 trapped guests are already dead. Across Port-au-Prince, the death toll climbs with sickening speed. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The Haitian government's estimate eventually reaches 316,000 dead, though experts question whether anyone will ever know the true number. 300,000 people are injured. Buildings collapsed on them. Concrete crushed their limbs. Some lie in the streets for days before anyone can help them. Makeshift hospitals spring up in parking lots, on sidewalks, anywhere there's open space. Doctors perform amputations without anesthesia. They have no choice. Without amputation, gangrene will set in and patients will die. Better to lose a limb than a life. By the time the sun sets on January 12th, approximately 1.5 million Haitians are homeless. The government estimates that 250,000 residences and 30,000 commercial buildings have collapsed or been severely damaged. In Léogâne, the town nearest the epicenter, 90% of all buildings are destroyed. On January 22nd, the United Nations officially calls off the search for survivors. The emergency phase is over. Now comes the long, brutal work of recovery. President Préville moves his government operations to a police barracks near the airport. The temporary structures are cramped, inadequate, nothing like the grandeur of the National Palace. But the National Palace is gone. That symbol of Haitian sovereignty and independence, that building that was supposed to survive anything, is now a shattered hulk of concrete and twisted rebar. Its collapsed cupola becomes the international symbol of Haiti's devastation. The international community responds with unprecedented aid. More than $13 billion are pledged from foreign governments, multilateral institutions, and private donors. The American Red Cross sets a record for mobile donations, raising $7 million in 24 hours through text messages. On January 22nd, the telethon Hope for Haiti now airs, becoming the most watched telethon in history and raising $58 million by the next day. But aid distribution is chaotic. The Port-au-Prince airport is small and air traffic becomes congested. Supplies pile up while injured people die waiting for medical care. Questions arise about who's in charge, how to prioritize flights, whether resources should go to high-profile rescue efforts like the Hotel Montana or spread across the city where more Haitians need help. The National Palace ruins stand for 2 years before they're finally demolished. France offers to rebuild it. Haiti declines. President Préval doesn't accept the offer, nor does he accept a proposal from a state-run Haitian organization that offered to tear it down for $25,000 using Haitian workers. In the end, actor Sean Penn's charity organization demolishes the palace in 2012 at no cost to the government. Most Haitians aren't happy about it. They wanted the government to take the lead, to rebuild with Haitian money, to restore that symbol of their sovereignty. It never happens. By the time the final counts are tallied, the story told itself in numbers that defied comprehension. At least 220,000 people dead, though estimates ranged as high as 316,000. 4-year-old Peterson, who lost his arm and his childhood. 102 UN personnel. 30 members of the Fédération Haïtienne de Football. Countless mothers, fathers, children whose names were never recorded. 3 million people, nearly 1/3 of Haiti's entire population, were affected. More than 1.5 million became homeless. Schools, hospitals, government buildings, businesses, homes, everything was destroyed. The education system totally collapsed. The healthcare system was devastated. The government was paralyzed. The entire infrastructure of a nation was reduced to rubble in 35 seconds. The 2010 Haiti earthquake ranks as one of the deadliest natural disasters of the 21st century. It proved that poverty kills as surely as any earthquake. Buildings in wealthier nations with enforced building codes sway in magnitude 7.0 earthquakes. Buildings in Port-au-Prince exploded. The death toll wasn't just a function of the earthquake's strength. It was a function of decades of poverty, lack of building standards, corrupt governance, and international policies that kept Haiti perpetually dependent on foreign aid. Dan Woolley recovered from his injuries. He appeared on the Today Show, NBC Nightly News, and Larry King Live. He wrote a book about his experience, but he never forgot the 65 hours in the darkness, the certainty that he would die, the goodbye notes he wrote to his family. That trauma stays with him. Oronel Medalus left Port-au-Prince after losing his family. He traveled to Kabayi, a small village in the Hinch region, hours from the capital. There was nothing left in Port-au-Prince for him, but when he saw Kabayi, he thought, I could make something of this. He became a mason again, this time building earthquake-resistant schools with WE Charity. His work ensures that the next generation of Haitian children will be safer than the generation that died in 2010. The Hotel Montana reopened in 2011 after reconstruction. The bar, pool, and restaurant were restored. Guests can once again enjoy cocktails under that magnificent mahogany tree. But the families of those who died there will never forget what that beautiful hillside hotel became on January 12, 2010. The earthquake that destroyed Port-au-Prince wasn't just a natural disaster. It was a reckoning, a brutal reminder that when disaster strikes the world's most vulnerable populations, the death toll isn't determined by the strength of the earthquake alone. It's determined by decades of policy failures, poverty, and neglect. Haiti's earthquake was catastrophic, not just because the ground shook, but because the buildings were never built to withstand shaking in the first place. More than 220,000 people lost their lives. The students at the college where Falon and Micah were trapped. The 102 UN personnel. Dan Woolley's colleague David Hames, whose body was never found. Countless Haitians whose names we'll never know but whose lives mattered just as much. The 2010 Haiti earthquake proved that in the battle between human civilization and nature, preparation matters. Engineering standards matter. Building codes matter. Governance matters. Haiti had none of these things, and more than 220,000 people paid with their lives. When the next earthquake strikes the next vulnerable city, and it will strike, the question won't be if there's devastation. The question will be whether we learned anything from Haiti, whether we built stronger, whether we prepared better, whether we did everything possible to protect the world's most vulnerable from disasters that, unlike poverty, we cannot prevent, only prepare for. If you found this story of devastation, survival, and the brutal truth about what happens when disaster strikes the unprepared as gripping as we did, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're covering the most catastrophic disasters in history, the ones that changed everything. Don't miss the next one, and drop a comment below. Have you ever experienced an earthquake? How would you prepare if you lived in a vulnerable area? We want to hear from you. Stay safe out there.